Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Ardis, and this is the Dr. Ardis Show. And this entire show is titled, How to Stop the Silent Killer Known as Stress. And yes, there is an accompanying PowerPoint I'm going to take you through, but just remember, our actual goals here are to educate you and restore your faith in the incredible benefits already provided and found in nature that help to improve our quality of life. Today is going to be all about our mental health, and we're going to be discussing stress specifically. All right, so we're going to talk about what the medical model is to treat and try to handle stress for people to reduce that. But you're going to be shocked about what you learn about the most commonly prescribed medications for depression, anxiety, you name it. That also goes along with stress, obviously. So we're going to take you through that. And then what are some very, very well-known and established nutrients found in nature that actually combat stress and are proven to do so even faster than prescription medications. That's what you're going to learn. So let's dive into the PowerPoint coming right up. Here we go. This is the title page, How to Stop the Silent Killer. I am your host, Dr. Brian Ardis, and this is a QR code. You can scan it at home. This actually allows you to put in your email to then get alerted to when any new podcast or any presentation is being projected and sent out to the audiences. You will be notified immediately when the next podcast has been released and the health topic we are addressing. And some of those are in the mainstream media as current events, and some of those are long-standing health issues. So scan the QR code if you are not already. Subscribe to the Dr. Ardis Show. All right, so we're going to start with this article. This is found on singlecare.com, and it is titled Stress Statistics 2024, How Common is Stress and Who is Most Affected? Nearly 90% of U.S. adults reported losing sleep at night because of worries about health and the economy. They also highlight that job stress costs the United States over $300 billion annually. About 75% of Americans, including you at home, reported experiencing a physical or mental health symptom or stress in the last month. Also in this, they actually highlight how common is stress. They state stress is extremely common and even normal, they say. But in recent years, self-reported stress has skyrocketed for Americans. Let's look at some of the highlights of how common stress is. More than 3/4 of adults report symptoms of stress, including headache, tiredness, and depression. 83% of the United States workers say they experience work-related stress. And nearly half of all of you that work, U.S. adults, say that stress has negatively affected their behavior. About 23% of American adults say they experience a mental health condition in the past year. And in 2024, 43% of adults reported feeling more anxious than they did the previous year. Some of the main causes they report of stress among U.S. adults in 2024 were in regard to the presidential election and the future of the nation. Well, if anybody watched mainstream news, articles, or paid attention to social media, all of you should have been stressed in 2024 because that's all they wanted to talk about was the future of the nation and the presidential election. Here are some statistics worldwide on stress, not just for Americans. In August of 2024, 31%, a third of all adults surveyed worldwide, thought stress was the biggest health problem in their country. The British Medical Journal reported approximately 284 million people worldwide have an anxiety disorder. Now let's get into what are the conventional treatments you're going to be offered if you feel like you're suffering from the effects of stress, depression, anxiety. We're going to only highlight the top 3 drugs prescribed to treat anxiety and stress. Those drug names you see on the screen are sertraline, which is another name for the brand name drug Zoloft. Citalopram, which is the generic name of the actual brand name drug called Celexa. And then the all-popular, all-knowing Prozac. We're just going to talk about these 3. And what do we want to highlight? We want to make sure that you know that sertraline is the generic name of the drug called Zoloft. You can see Zoloft in the top right-hand corner at a 50 milligram dose. That's what it looks like. What is sertraline? Per drugs.com. It's a medication used. You can read the first sentence in the paragraph at the bottom of the screen. Sertraline or Zoloft is a medication used for depression, panic disorders, obsessive compulsive disorder, social anxiety disorder, PTSD, and premenstrual dysphoric disorder. These are some important warnings found on drugs.com. The important warnings about Zoloft. This medicine can cause some serious health issues. What do they claim? Antidepressants increase the risk of suicidal thoughts and behavior in pediatric and young adult patients in short-term studies. What do I want to highlight here for you? These increased risk of suicidal thoughts and actions was found not in long-term studies, short-term studies. So picture anything 6 months and less. So anybody that's on Zoloft, if you see that their behaviors are worsening in the short term after being prescribed the drug, you are told to closely monitor all antidepressant treated patients for clinical worsening. So that means their depression is getting worse, and for emergence of suicidal thoughts and behaviors, meaning they weren't there before they started Zoloft. Well, let's dive into some of the more common and very common published side effects of Zoloft, which millions in America are being prescribed for their stress. As you can read on the screen, look at the very common side effects and the percentage of those who experience insomnia. It's over 20% there. That means 1 in 5. When you look at the common, this is up to 10% of all people. They will experience symptoms like this: worsening suicidal ideation and suicide attempts. Did you know that was a listed side effect in 10% of all people? 1 in 10. They also mention hallucinations are common in 1%. Let's go to the nervous system side effects. Did you know that they publish that up to 22% of people on Zoloft will experience headaches? That's a published known effect. 1 in 5 people will develop headaches. Somnolence, up to 13%. This means you will become reserved, shy, disappear from social gatherings. You won't engage. Somnolence is a subdued behavior. Did you know that up to 10% of people on Zoloft in clinical trials had convulsions and tremors as published side effects? Well, if you know anybody on Zoloft and they start having convulsions or seizures or tremors, it may not be Parkinson's or seizures at all. It might just be the poisonous toxic effect already known and published about Zoloft. Let's continue. We're going to go to the next slide here. Let's go to the cardiovascular risks. Did you know up to 10% of people on Zoloft experience chest pain and palpitations? Did you know that up to a higher percentage gastrointestinal, you'll have nausea? Over 20% of people will experience nausea, dizziness, dry mouth. Did you know that? Some of the more exciting ones, look at the genitourinary side effects. Up to 14% of people, males, who experience or take Zoloft will experience, and it's already reported in clinical trials, ejaculation failure. How many of you knew that was even a side effect known and published about any drug? You'll notice up to 10% of people on Zoloft will experience erectile dysfunction, but ejaculation failure in the majority of them. Well, those of you who are wanting to have a family, young adults wanting to have a family and experiencing depression, stress, and anxiety, if you've been prescribed Zoloft or any of the next 2 prescription medications we're going to highlight, they each have these lowering libido, erectile dysfunction, and ejaculation failures published side effects. Citalopram, let's go to the next one. This is Celexa. What do we need to know about Celexa? Well, they have important warnings, black box warnings on drugs.com for Celexa, known as citalopram. Did you know that they publish suicidal thoughts and behaviors? Antidepressants increase the risk of suicidal thoughts and behavior in pediatric and young adult patients, again, in short-term studies. Then they tell the prescribing medical doctor and the families of the loved ones on these drugs, closely monitor all antidepressant treated patients for clinical worsening depression, and for emergence of suicidal thoughts and behaviors. When you get to the nervous system, it's very common for those who are on Celexa to experience headaches, somnolence, and dizziness, over 10% of all of them, even over 26% just with headaches. That means 1 in 4 on Celexa will start having headaches. Let's look at their gastrointestinal ones. Did you know that over 21% of all of you on this drug will start having nausea and vomiting and dry mouth in 1 in 5? Well, how many of you are told after getting on Celexa that maybe you have Sjogren's disease, which is dry mouth, dry nose? What if it's actually just a published side effect of Celexa you were prescribed for your anxiety? Asthenia in 11.5%. You'll see that under other. Do you know what asthenia means? Well, Per Medical News Today and Wikipedia, I show you the definition. Asthenia is a medical term that refers to general feeling of physical weakness or lack of energy. It can be a symptom of various medical conditions and may affect specific body parts or the entire body. Did you know that over 10% of all people put on Celexa report asthenia, a general I don't feel well symptom? And if you look there, it's very common that 10% of people will experience fatigue and tinnitus. 1 in 10 will experience ringing in their ears and extreme fatigue. Did you know that about Celexa? Did your medical doctor tell you that? What about psychiatric conditions? Well, it's very common, insomnia, and a high percentage of people on Celexa. Ask your doctor if insomnia and staying up all night and not being able to sleep is right for you when they prescribe Celexa for your problem. How about aggravated depression, agitation, anxiety, apathy in up to 10% of all people, and sleep disorders? And then look at suicide attempts in 10% of all people on citalopram, known as Celexa. Did you know that suicide was a published common side effect of Celexa? Here we get into the genitourinary. You're going to see again highlighted ejaculation failure, lower libido. You're going to see it. What about respiratory? Did you know up to 10% of all people on Celexa will actually contract upper respiratory tract infections? Sinusitis, coughing, and pharyngitis? Ask your doctor if respiratory illness is right for you when they prescribe Celexa. Chest pain in up to 10%, palpitations, tachycardia. How many of you were told by your cardiologist that this was maybe a genetic disorder you inherited if you had a family history of any of these, when in fact you might have been put on Celexa, and it's known that 1 in 10 people will develop tachycardia and chest pain and palpitations. Ask your doctor if cardiovascular symptoms are right for you when they prescribe these drugs. Now, Prozac is probably the most known, most prescribed of all the ones we talked about. Prozac is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor, abbreviated SSRI. Let's look at their important warnings. Once again, they publish about Prozac. Antidepressants like Prozac can increase the risk of suicidal thinking and behavior in children, adolescents, and young adults with major depressive disorder. Medical doctors closely monitor your patients of all ages for clinical worsening and emergence of suicidal thoughts and behaviors. I am not going to read all of these. All of them overlap what you saw with the previous 2 prescription medications. And just so everybody knows, the PowerPoint I am showing all of you that highlights all of these issues with these commonly prescribed medications. You can go to the resources tab of the drardisshow.com and actually click on the resources tab, click the blue button that says how to stop the silent killer stress. When you click it, it opens up in a free PDF you can download, read, review, go look at these research studies that I'm about to show you about the incredible anti-anxiety, anti-stress benefits of specific minerals and vitamins that you weren't told by your medical professional. I want to highlight here for all you Prozac users, they know that there's an increase in suicidal thoughts and suicide attempts and suicide behavior while on Prozac. Again, you're looking at the issues that are very common among antidepressants. Look at all of them. I want to highlight one. Did you know that it's actually known that Prozac can cause abortion in people who are pregnant? It's not a whole lot of people. Just know it is a published side effect. And if it can kill a baby and make you lose your baby, what's it doing to you every day you swallow it? 11% lowered libido for those of you wanting to have families. Now it's time to dive in for the last 20 minutes of this PowerPoint and this podcast. We're going to dive into the natural ways to eliminate stress that your medical professionals may not know and that you may have never heard of. The first one I want to talk to you about is magnesium. This is a published study from 2020 and it's titled Magnesium Status and Stress, the Vicious Circle Concept Revisited. As I dive into these research studies, I cannot read all the highlighted statements in here. I do not have time for that. However, for any of you who want to share this information with your loved ones or learn more, go to the drardisshow.com, click the resources tab, and click the How to Stop the Silent Killer Stress PowerPoint. All of this is in here. It is free, no cost to you, but this is the information that could be life-saving for all of you. So go there and read. You can learn more. In response to a stressful stimulus, everybody read together, stress hormones are released, causing an increase of magnesium extracellular levels. As a consequence, higher magnesium concentrations are excreted through the kidneys and out of your body. When the stressor persists over time, this mechanism may contribute to magnesium depletion and deficiency and trigger the stress and magnesium vicious circle, as illustrated in this next table. As we experience stress, we deplete magnesium out of our body. If we live in a long period of stress, magnesium is constantly being devoided from our body, and magnesium is published to have over 1,200 functions in the human body. Not just 300 like you read a lot, over 1,200. Comprehensively, both preclinical and clinical studies results point to the bidirectional relationship between magnesium levels in your body and your stress levels. Read the last statement. Magnesium deficiency can induce symptoms and increase your susceptibility to stress. And acute and chronic stress can precipitate magnesium deficiency. I love magnesium. All around the world where I fly, chefs out of restaurants, kitchens will come and sit down next to me. Pilots will come up to me and tell me that I'm the magnesium guy that they see on TikTok and other social media platforms. You're that famous magnesium doctor. Well, I love magnesium. I want to show you out of this study the impact of stress on magnesium depletion. I just want to highlight in this table that there is a cycle. They're saying there's a vicious cycle related to magnesium depletion that increases the amount of stress that we're going to experience. You'll see here, the cycle includes the release of neurotransmitters and steroids from your adrenal glands called glucocorticoids. When those get released, it causes your body, due to stress, to release magnesium from your cells, and then you're going to pee them out, sweat them out, poop them out. As magnesium goes down, you see a change in the central nervous system's control of your stress levels. And they call it, you'll see it abbreviated there on the circle on the left, you'll see HPA axis. That stands for hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. When magnesium becomes depleted, you're seeing a worse balance in the hormones of the body, leading to more stress, which is going to cause your body to release more cortisol, more glucocorticoid steroids, which ultimately will lead to more magnesium depletion. If you add magnesium to the body, you can stop that cycle. All right, so in this research study, I'm going to highlight magnesium supplementation has proven benefits for the treatment of symptoms of psychological daily stress, which includes fatigue, irritability, and sleep. It has been shown that subjects with mental and physical stress can benefit from a daily intake of magnesium. Male students, particularly experiencing common stress factors such as sleep deprivation, malnutrition, and a lack of physical activity, and receiving magnesium at a 250 milligram a day dose for 4 weeks, not only presented an increase in erythrocyte magnesium content, but also a reduction of overall blood level cortisol, which is the stress hormone. As they took magnesium daily, their cortisol stress hormone levels dropped and their magnesium load in their bloodstream went up. The daily supplementation, I'm going to read the second actual highlighted statement. The daily supplementation with 300 milligrams in a different study, combined with vitamin B6 or not, provided positive results on stress relief, particularly on subjects who reported severe stress levels at baseline or at the beginning of the study, with a reduction supplementing magnesium in depression, anxiety, stress scale scores of up to 45% improvement from the start of the research study. It is interesting to note the researchers say that several studies investigating the potential benefit of magnesium supplementation in populations with symptoms of stress reported a subclinical chronic magnesium deficiency or a low magnesium status at the beginning of their studies in the majority of the subjects enrolled. The majority of those who are enrolling themselves in research studies about stress and anxiety and depression, all of them have low levels of magnesium in their body. Over the past decades, in the conclusion of this research study on magnesium's benefits on stress, over the past decades, not last year, past decades, that's at least 2 decades, that's 20 years, increasing evidence has shown the supported link between magnesium deficiency and increased susceptibility to stress disorders, and further suggested that stress itself can lead to magnesium depletion. Magnesium is an essential element involved in reactions regulating the body's stress response at several levels. Go to the bottom of the page. Magnesium intake, the authors write, is safe with limited side effects in cases of chronic overconsumption. What is the limited side effect? If you take too much magnesium in any given 24-hour period, you will develop diarrhea. That's how you know you have enough magnesium in you. And each day after the diarrhea episode, just reduce the amount of magnesium to about 100 milligrams less until you stop having diarrhea. They call it bowel tolerance. How much magnesium does every individual person need? It's different for everybody. I recommend 500 milligrams every single day to everyone at a bare minimum. So as you go at 500 milligrams, if you experience diarrhea, just go the next day to 400 milligrams, reduce it by 100, and maybe you would benefit better from a 400 milligram dose than others. This is another study highlighted in the previous study we just showed. I have to show you a simple table out of this research study that I think summarizes everything you need to see. The title of this article is The Effect of Magnesium and Vitamin B6 Supplementation on Mental Health and the Quality of Life in Stressed, Healthy Adults. Anxiety and depression scores were similar for the treatment groups with magnesium and vitamin B6 and those who just took magnesium alone. So they had a group of people, they took their anxiety scores, they gave one group of people magnesium and vitamin B6, and then they gave another group just magnesium all by itself. And they're telling you here, the anxiety and depression scores were similar for both of them. Now, I want to show you the chart out of the graph. And to get acclimated with the chart, look at the far left. That's the anxiety scores from 0 up to 16. 16 being the most severe anxiety scores, 0 being the lowest. On the bottom of the scale, you will see the start of the research study is at baseline. That's day 1. Those are the levels of their stress in the people taking either nothing or magnesium and vitamin B6 or just magnesium. And then you see they're doing follow-ups with their scores for anxiety at week 4 and week 8. I want to highlight magnesium. This is magnesium plus vitamin B6 score at the end of 8 weeks. I'm showing you with the red arrow. Let's look at magnesium alone. Magnesium's anxiety scores was even lower than the magnesium and vitamin B6 scores at week 8. Isn't that impressive? So when you took both magnesium and vitamin B6, your anxiety scores came way down, which is miraculous. But when you took magnesium alone, your anxiety scores overall were even better than the magnesium and vitamin B6 group. So magnesium was better than the combination. They report that both treatment groups showed improved anxiety scores over the course of the 8-week study, with the average anxiety scores reducing from severe down to near normal levels. Now, I want to highlight a couple things here. The greatest improvement in the average anxiety score occurred in the first 4 weeks of treatment. Remember, you can go back and get this entire PowerPoint if you'd like to read every single statement I highlighted here. But I want to show you something very important. They mentioned in this study, I highlight again, that the greatest improvement in the average overall anxiety score occurred in the first 4 weeks of treatment. Let's look at how quickly people see benefits with Prozac in comparison to the magnesium anxiety studies. How quickly does Prozac work? Well, according to verywellhealth.com, they report a person's depressed mood and lack of interest in daily activities may need up to 6 to 8 weeks to improve fully. Well, magnesium did it in 4. So what's better, magnesium or Prozac? Then they state here that Prozac may take 4 to 5 weeks or longer to improve a person's symptoms or achieve therapeutic effects. Now, I highlight this because I need you to understand something. If you are watching this show and you suffer with anxiety or have a loved one that does, and you're thinking to yourself, what should I try first? I just want you to know, if you think going to your medical doctor to get a prescription for Prozac is right for you, and you think your symptoms of anxiety are going to improve faster than they would if you supplemented magnesium, I just showed you from research studies the opposite is true. Magnesium in 4 weeks is as good or faster at providing benefits to lower your anxiety, period, in 4 weeks, better than Prozac. This is the next study on the effects of magnesium supplementation. I will not read every statement in here, but it actually summarizes some of the findings in the previous one. I just want you to see there's a lot of information here. I want you to see the last statement here. The rating of the benefit versus the risk of a treatment was significantly higher for the magnesium treatment group. They saw better improvements in 90 days in the overall scores for anxiety and depression with magnesium in a 90-day study. Now we're going to go to the next nutrient. And remember, if you want to learn more about magnesium's benefits, just go download the PowerPoint under the resources tab at the Dr. Ardis Show and forward it to everybody you know who's looking to reduce their anxiety here in 2025 when we're recording this. This is a study from Frontiers Medical Journal Online. This is a proprietary black cumin oil extract study, and they wanted to know how does it modulate or improve the stress-sleep immunity axis. Stress, sleep, and your immune system's axis. And how do they overlap? I just want to read a few highlights here of what they're doing. They're comparing BCO, stands for black cumin seed oil. And in a 45-day study, they wanted to see if there was a reduction in any of these groups. So I have to show you. They compared the scores of anxiety on the 45th day, revealed a significant reduction in the black cumin seed oil group of anxiety, whereas the placebo showed no significant change in the stress levels. In the group comparison, they also showed a significant reduction in stress in the black cumin seed oil group compared to the placebo. It worked. In fact, it worked this good. To acclimate you out of the research study, this table shows you the scores for anxiety on the left, PSS score, which is your sleep, insomnia, and immunity scores. And they're looking at baseline again. Baseline at the bottom is the day 1 of the research study. Then they look at day 45 scores and day 90 scores. The blue is the stress scores for the control group. The gray bars are the black cumin seed oil group. If you look at day 90, the black cumin seed oil group, their anxiety scores, their sleep scores, their immune scores, all the stress scores dropped at a massively different scale while using black cumin seed oil. Just in 90 days. And at 45 days. You can see it there also. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. I want to read the last statement I highlighted here on this chart from the results of this study. The observed reduction in stress among the black cumin seed oil group with respect to the placebo group was significant, with an effect size of 1.19 by the end of the study, which means there was a significant correlation observed between improved sleep and reduced stress in the black cumin seed oil group. Black cumin seed oil significantly modulated the stress, sleep, immune system axis with no side effects and restored restful sleep. Well, how does that compare to Celexa, Zoloft, and Prozac we highlighted earlier? There is a ton of horrific side effects when black cumin seed oil has none. Isn't that amazing? And do you remember insomnia was one of the listed side effects for all of them? They saw improved restful sleep with black cumin seed oil. Now on the screen, you're going to see another research study highlighting what's called Nigella Sativa seeds. Nigella Sativa oil seeds is black cumin seed oil. This just happens to be the scientific name. Black cumin seed oil and Nigella Sativa oil are the same. But look at the highlighted study here. If you want to dive into this more, go to the resources tab at the Dr. Ardis Show and click the how to stop the silent killer stress. Nigella Sativa seed oils or black cumin seed oil modulate or improve mood, anxiety, and cognition, brain function in healthy adolescent males. Statistically significant difference between the intervention group giving Nigella Sativa or black cumin seed oil and control over time for 4 weeks study period on the state of anxiety scores. And they found that the black cumin seed oil over time had a better anxiety score. Remember, you can read all this on your own if you'd like, but I want to read to you their conclusions. The observed effect of Nigella Sativa oil, known as black cumin seed oil, on anxiety, as measured by this anxiety test, was statistically significant on calmness of mood, as measured by the Bond Ladder scale, and on cognition, as measured by the CVLT2 score, was also statistically significant. They saw improvements in cognition, calmness of mood for these various psychiatric tests. This demonstrates that there might have been improvement of cognition via affecting anxiety and mood for those participating. Therefore, Nigella Sativa oil or black cumin seed oil might be a potential source for developing new drugs for treating anxiety and stabilizing mood and improving cognition in adolescents. Not Prozac, not Celexa, not Zoloft, black cumin seed oil. This is a research study highlighting the benefits of vitamin D on stress and anxiety in young female students. More than 90% of the subjects showed moderate to severe anxiety levels at the beginning of the study, and more than 80% of them had moderate to severe degrees of stress. The results of the vitamin D supplemented study, it should be mentioned that both groups demonstrated high prevalence of vitamin D deficiency. Only 17% of all the students were vitamin D sufficient, meaning that they had adequate vitamin D levels in their blood. All of those reporting high levels of severe anxiety and stress. Had 83% of them had inadequate levels of vitamin D in their blood. Last statement on the screen above that you're looking at. Increment of each unit of vitamin D given in a supplement form could reduce the risk of stress and anxiety 3.3% for every unit of vitamin D they supplemented. Here they show you the vitamin D levels that they found. Their conclusions were vitamin D levels were lower in subjects with degrees of anxiety and stress. The possible relationship among stress to anxiety, vitamin D, and antioxidant status is plausible. This current study results indicated that consumption of hydrogenated fat may lead to more stress and anxiety levels, and they found that vitamin D lowers it. And then in 2022, they decided to test vitamin D supplementation in anxiety and depression in elderly people who also had prediabetes. And what did they find? After 6 and 12 months, they found those supplementing vitamin D participants decreased significantly their anxiety scores by 38 points. And here they show you a chart. Anxiety scores on the left from 30 up to 50. Day 1 is baseline. At 6 months and 12 months, you'll see up here at the top, vitamin D supplementation for 12 months. Look at the anxiety scores. If they did this every day, the elderly, anxiety and stress, even being pre-diabetic, if they took vitamin D supplementation every day by 12 months, there was a massive reduction in overall anxiety and stress reported in the elderly. Could your elderly loved ones, grandparents or parents, benefit from vitamin D deficiency or vitamin D supplementation? I think they would. Here's another one. Looking at another quality of life scoring, those actually taking vitamin D for another 12 months in the same research study saw a massive drop in anxiety impacting their quality of life. Conclusions. In this trial, we showed that in a high-risk population, those with prediabetes and elderly, a weekly vitamin D supplementation scheme was effective in reducing anxiety and depression levels, while the benefits were similar to those with baseline concentrations in the zone of deficiency and insufficiency. Now it's time to highlight for you why it is we recommend magnesium for those dealing with stress. You saw the results. Go back and download the PowerPoint. At Nature Wins, at the Dr. Ardis Show, we have our magnesium, and 4 capsules contains 400 milligrams. Our vitamin D3, which also helps reduce the effects of stress in the elderly and the young, we just showed you. This is why we offer our D3 supplement at the Dr. Ardis Show. The next one is Nigella Sativa oil is the highlighted flagship ingredient in our biodefense product, and you just saw its benefits. If you did this for 45 days, 90 days, you would see improvements too in your immune system, your overall anxiety scores, and depression, and you would see more restful sleep as we highlighted in this show. The last product I'm going to show you is vitamin D, vitamin B6, and magnesium are all inside of our Doc's Healthy Kids supplement, a daily chewable supplement that I formulated specifically. It's flavored all natural ingredients to improve your children's mental and anxiety and stressful states as they navigate this crazy world we live in. Don't forget about our book, Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies. You can get it at our website at thedrardisshow.com. For all those suffering and looking for hope since COVID, we have the answers in the book, Moving Beyond the COVID-19 Lies. If you enjoyed this presentation, want to know where you can go get it, the resources tab, scan the QR code. I'm Dr. Brian Ardis. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you all have a blessed week. I hope this provides value to you, and we hope you, as you supplement these products, see a reduction in your overall stress, improving your quality of life every single day. We'll see you next time on the Dr. Ardis Show.